All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Hey, yo, what it is and what's good, y'all? Welcome back to 280 Plus, the social media podcast where I take the conversations off the timeline and go beyond the tweets. I'm your host, Los Def, and I got a really, really special guest here with me today. It's been a long time coming, but we finally got her on. So please, ma'am, introduce. I don't even want to call you ma'am, but please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Andrea McCoy. I am excited to be on here and to talk about the show that I was on, which is The Parent Test.
Yeah.
And, give anybody any background, kind of insight that they were wondering about. I'm just happy to be a part of this.
Thank you. Thank you. And so if y'all know from, if you haven't seen it, she was a part of a reality TV show on ABC called The Parent Test. And it's something that I've recapped a couple different times. And she was the winner, right? So I'm talking to the best parent in America right now. Like, I don't know if y'all know that, but I'm talking to the best parent in America right now. And we're going to get into everything that has to do with the show. But I did want, because you are a parent, you know what I mean? I'm a parent. I had a couple of videos I wanted us to kind of react to see what your opinion is on some of these things. All right. So that's what this episode is going to be kind of about, you know what I mean? So for the parents here. So you know what I mean? So let's share this first video here. All right. So this one, I just want to hear your opinion on this. This is he talks about there's no such thing as lazy kids. All right, but he has an alternative though. Who's really lazy? But let's hear what you got to say.
All right.
Thing is lazy kids is only lazy parent. That's very important to understand. The only lazy mom and dad is lazy. Ain't no lazy kids. Lazy mom and daddy, okay? We're in Pop Warner. I find a camp. I'm living in Orange County, which is about 40 minutes from Compton. Compton's a rough neighborhood. We live in the suburbs. My kids are like 5, 6, and 7. But I found a camp in Compton every Sunday. Every Sunday we went to go run with them kids.
Why was it important that they play in Compton?
Because they gotta get rough. You can't be light-skinned. Light-skinned dudes, we should take their money. They have and have light-skinned, I gotta be careful with that, Where I came from, we took Keith Terrell's money in the morning. Joseph Holmes, we took their money in the morning. Hey, Joseph, buy me something to eat. The dark-skinned guys gonna beat up on light-skinned guys, so I gotta make sure they tough. I don't wanna be like El DeBarge or the Jacksons or something, So I had to make sure of that, right? So we went there. The thing is, I said, look, we're going. At least 3 or 4 parents would call, John, aren't you going to that camp in Compton tomorrow? Yes. Can you pick up Bobby or can you pick up so-and-so? I go, no, man, you got to take your own kid.
Take your own kid. You got to carry your own weight.
We went. Hey, John, you're lifting weights with your kids. Can we come lift weights with you?
And when they say we, it's just like they just want to drop their kids off.
Yes, see? Lazy mom and daddy. My kids are not super kids where they're waking up in the morning going, hey, Papa, let's go to the gym. Papa, let's go work out. No, that's normal. They don't say it. They're kids. Even if they complain, okay, they're kids. You make them go. There's no such thing as lazy.
All right, so he was kind of slandering us a little bit, some light-skinned people a little bit. But other than that, though, the message, though, where he's talking about there's no such thing as lazy kids, it's only lazy parents. Do you agree? Is a child's perceived laziness always based on their parents? Like, how do you feel about that?
I think that no, I don't think that. Okay. One, I do think that the colorism is not okay. But in addition to that, I do think that it just is circumstantial because I know growing up, I grew up with a rough childhood and my brothers, it was very common for them to have to get, transportation from the coach or another parent or somebody to help take them back and forth to practice because they didn't have that good of a home life. So I think that it just depends. Allen Iverson, his mom was a teen mom and she put him in after school sports because she couldn't afford daycare. So sometimes it's just circumstantial. Sometimes the parents do not have the ability to take the kids back and forth, even though they want them to participate. So they have to ask for help. I think that it's up to the parents to instill discipline in their kids, which, I'm the disciplined mom.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Instill that self-discipline where they are, you start something, you finish it through. Even if your team is losing, you win and lose as a team, you stick it out and you participate the best you can. I do think lazy parents exist for sure.
Yes.
For sure. But I do think that sometimes kids are lazy. There's plenty of kids that their parents take to practice every week and they want to sit on the sidelines and keep going for water. They want to run slow. I think that it just depends on the kid and the circumstance. But I think that you can't really put the kid down. All you can do is encourage them to try harder and motivate them, because you never know why. Maybe they don't sleep well at night because of things going on at home, or maybe they're hungry, maybe they're exhausted. Kids come with their own stuff too. So I think that sometimes you just got to have grace.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I thought he did make a decent point though, because I think it's about instilling that. I think he is essentially saying like that discipline, the routine, whatever, because even sometimes the best athletes, like or these people that are doing great things, it didn't just start with the kid. Like it had to be instilled in the parent. But sometimes you do have that self agency to say, I am growing up in a rough environment. I'm not gonna repeat these cycles, so I'm gonna go above and beyond, whatever. So I could definitely see it playing both sides, whatever. But I think most importantly, it is about putting your kids in a position to win. And I think that's what he's talking about essentially. Now, like I said, he did say some other wild stuff in there, but
I understand his point, and I think you do have to gauge, because I think what he's saying, is parents in Orange County that probably could take their kids, and I think that he's saying that more. But how many parents, how many people, I should say, out here will say, I did well because of what my coach instilled into me? It's not always the parents that help change your life and motivate you to be your best. Sometimes it's a teacher or a coach or someone like that. So I think that you just have to gauge, does this child really need a ride because they need help, or because their parent is working, or is it literally they just don't want to take their own kids, they're trying to pawn them off on you? You just have to be able to know what the difference is. And sometimes even that kid who has the lazy parent, they still need you.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, if I was put in that position, like that man, if it was the kid asking me, I probably would look out for them. But like I would probably be annoyed if parents were just trying to like use me as the carpools, whatever,
And
I'm like, all
they're
right.
absolutely capable. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, so
You
yeah.
got to put accountability on parents, because how many games do you go to when a lot of times there's not parental support? I know sometimes people are working, but there's other times where people just don't put their kids as their number one priority, and holding them accountable is like, if you want them to participate, you got to get them here.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so that's the first video. So I think we on the same page there. This next video, and we'll see what side of the coin that we on with this one. I'm a little bit mixed here with this, but let me share the screen here. So this was a parent, and there was a birthday party involved, and she just did not like how things went down, and we'll see if we agree with her or not there. So let's play this real quick. All right, here we go.
Mom shame. Only people I've ever mom shamed are myself and my own mother. But one other mom is going to be added to the list because what the actually, I'm not even, this is a question. Am I entitled, or was this messed up? 2 hours ago, literally, right now, MK and I were at the park in my neighborhood, and it was us and this birthday group, right? So, literally just us and this birthday group. These kids are having their birthday party. MK's playing with them for like, what, half an hour? They're making friends. It was nice. It was actually very cute. Time to sing happy birthday. MK goes over. She's one of the group right now, alright? They're welcoming her with open arms. Or so I thought. I was wrong. Time to eat cake. I see MK, I see her intention of grabbing a piece of cake. So I, walk over to make sure it's okay. As a formality, honestly, I was like, obviously it's okay. It's cake, it's a massive cake, there's lots of leftover pieces. The mother takes the plate away from MK and gets down to her level, says, you cannot eat this cake, okay? This is not your birthday party. These are not your friends. Where's your mother?
So her question was is she entitled, or were these other parents kind of out of pocket, I guess, for refusing or not allowing her daughter to have cake? I didn't like it. I didn't like how she was hiding her voice, like with the AI stuff, whatever. Like she probably just like a little scary, like a little nervous, paranoid person. But what do you think, man, in a scenario like that? Because I think we've all been in similar scenarios, especially if you have a party in a public place. Your kids start playing with other kids. Do you share with everybody? Do you what I mean? How does that go? But what do you think about her initial question? Is she entitled, or were the other parents in the way?
I think her feelings are hurt for her child, because her feelings were probably hurt. But honestly, she's not a part of the birthday party. So I do think that if you have extra stuff and you want to allow the child to participate, that's an option you have, but you're not obligated to do so. Yeah. It is it should have kind of been her place to tell her daughter, they're having a party over there. We're here to play at the park. We're going to play over here. And if her daughter really wanted to participate, then she could have gone over there and said, hey, is it okay if she joins for a little bit? You know, can she have a piece of cake? At least then kind of be the middleman and have the buffer there instead of just assuming that she could participate, because people have things the way they do. When you have a birthday party, you have a certain amount of people you're inviting, certain age groups, certain dietary restrictions, all of that is thought about. So I understand that the baby's feelings were probably hurt and she wanted that cake. Of course, who wouldn't? It's a kid and they want to participate. But I think it just could have been handled differently and maybe she could have been included. But I wouldn't give a random child anything without their parents' permission. I'm not going to give them food or cake, or that kid may have dietary restrictions. Or you're not going to pass out and die on my watch because, you know, having to say, where is your mother already, to me, why were you not right there? Because when they left the playground to go over to the party, that's where you kind of intervene yourself. Okay, you made new friends, you had fun, but let's stay over here. Let's play over here because this is an event and you weren't invited. So I get her feelings, but I do think that the other parent wasn't really in the wrong. They just, I mean, there's just a little bit of hurt feelings, but that's a part of life too. You have to just explain.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it definitely comes off a little bit as entitled. And I can kind of sympathize, like if my kid got turned down, whatever, but I also wouldn't put my kid in a situation like that. I would, you know, if they were playing with somebody that had a birthday party, I would just explain to my son, like, hey, you know, they having a birthday party. I probably not in that moment, whatever, but I would just kind of break it down to him, like, hey, you know, we're not a part of this party. Now,
It's time for them to walk off.
you know, if they invited us over, then it'd be one thing, but I wouldn't just mosey my way over there. But yeah, the parent should have she should have definitely spoke up and at least asked the parents, like, hey, can my kid have a piece? I don't even know. I wouldn't even feel comfortable asking for somebody else's piece of cake. I don't know. Like so it would have to be just a natural, organic thing where I'm being invited. I don't even think I would ask. I would wait for the invitation. If we don't get an invitation, you know, maybe, you know, we exchange information, you know, so like our kids can meet again, whatever, but I wouldn't impose on anybody's party.
The other parent cannot assume that it's okay to give a stranger's child cake. So, I mean, they weren't wrong for that. It's not, maybe it wasn't about that you can't come to this party. It's just like, where are you supposed to be? I don't even know what you can have. I don't know who you're here with. So it's one thing, if it were me, I probably would allow the child to play and I would ask the parent, is it okay if they have a piece of cake? I mean, it is at a park. I probably would include them if there was enough and there was extras, but you're still not obligated to do so. So I think that assuming because you love your child, they're the most magnificent thing in the world to you, that they're allowed in every space is, I mean, it's just not realistic.
It's definitely not realistic. And I'm interested to know, like, because we don't have a lot of information. I'm interested to know how old her daughter was, how old the other people were, also even like the demographics, you know what I mean, of it, because, you know, culturally sometimes people are a little bit, you know, we have certain ways that we do things, you know, as opposed to other people. So yeah, I have questions about that, whatever, but you know, I guess, you know, everybody got to go to social media to, you know, complain or rant. And, you know, I think that's what she was just trying to get off. But yeah,
you know, the type of parent I am, I feel like it's important too to teach your child to always ask permission for things, to go over to the birthday party. If they can have the cake, you know, just even if someone offers it, they still ask. You know, when my kid was younger, people would give her candy. She was kind of restricted on sweets. And if somebody gave candy, she would put it in her pocket and save it and ask later, you know, is it okay if I have this? She wouldn't just necessarily say no to the person, but she still wouldn't eat it until she asked. It's important to kind of teach them to ask permission, because even if the person said no, maybe you didn't want them to have the cake. You just have to.
And it's one of them things too, like if I'm at the park, and just say I'm the one hosting the party, typically your kid is not just, they already have friends that they're playing with because it's a party, right? Now a lot of times you might end up running into a group of kids, whatever, but they might only gravitate towards one. I see. In that instance, I would be like, no, you can't give that friend one because I would feel obligated. I got to give all these kids one
Yes.
that are adjacent to this party, and it's like, we didn't plan for that. You know what I mean? Maybe we can meet up with these people again, and you could play another time. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's like you can't give one kid because I can't imagine that it was only one kid. Like there had to be other
And even if
kids.
they were, what if more kids come? So
Yeah, yeah, because you know how it is too. Like, oh, yo, they got cake over here, and then like a bunch of kids like start, moseying
yeah.
over there and stuff like that. So, yeah,
Next,
it's
they playing with your presents.
yep. Opening the presents, that'd be crazy.
Yes. And like, where is your mama?
Where is your mom at? Like, and yeah, because you don't want to yell at nobody else's kids or
Yeah.
nothing like that. So, all right, that's good. That's good. So we got a primer of like the type of person you are, type of parent you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about the show because we are talking to the best parent in America right now. And so the parent test. Congratulations on winning the show first and
Thank
foremost.
you.
You know what I mean? So how did you first learn about like the opportunity to even be on a show like that? Like was that
So
like a
they
casting call or
yeah, they reached out to me. They were doing a search across the whole country, just combing through. And I had never actually had any desire to be on TV or anything like that. I actually was on a game show one time and we lost. I didn't even tell a single soul about the show
what
because
show?
it's called Tug of Words on game
Okay.
show. Me and
Okay.
my cousin did it. And I was like, I'm not telling anybody so they can watch me lose. So it was funny because I wouldn't have auditioned for anything. It wasn't something that I'm really interested in. And someone else had told them about me because initially they marketed it as they were looking for families that just have a unique situation. Modern families. It wasn't brought to us the way that we did it on the show. It
Okay.
was brought to us like, oh, this show is just kind of showcasing various types of families in modern America. My daughter she's biologically my brother's daughter. She's adopted. We have a unique situation. And
Okay.
so we planned all these fun activities for you guys to do. And you can get on this, do these things. We didn't know it was a competition or anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you're talking about when you first auditioned, you didn't know it was
No,
like
all the way until we went to set.
so wait a time out. You're doing all these challenges, every single challenge, and you didn't know what the heck you were doing it for?
They told us the show was called something else and that they didn't tell us anything about that. They were like, oh yeah, it's just, modern parents and, unique families. And they called them challenges, but they were like, oh, they're just unique, like fun scenarios, things we're going to put just so we can showcase you and your daughter's relationship. We had no idea that they were looking for anything specific in these challenges, except for maybe I would say the, stranger danger challenge. Of course,
Yeah.
they're looking to see how your child reacts to that. But even that was painted kind of like it was for our knowledge. We
Okay.
didn't realize they never told us anything about the competition piece, which is good because that's how you get genuine footage. That's how you get genuine
Yeah.
reactions. If we had known, we could have tried to prepare or some kind of like think ahead, but we didn't know anything. So literally every activity, we're just having fun, just doing us.
Yeah. Yeah. What the so all right, that makes a lot more sense now, like now that I'm thinking about the show, because I'm thinking like, yeah, this like all right, like a lot of it felt like contrived a little bit, whatever. But if I don't even know I'm on a show
Yeah.
necessarily, and you're just recording, yeah, you definitely gonna get wow, that's
It
deep.
caused some parents to be a little disgruntled because they just wanted to be a part of a beautiful conversation. And then the competition piece was thrown in there and they didn't really like that. I was just kind of down for whatever. I just thought it would be a good way to get my daughter exposure for her music.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. Wow, that's cool. That's cool. I didn't even think I would get like behind the scenes information like that, but that's dope.
It was an interesting way that they went about it, but it was, I feel like it was the best way to go about it in order to make sure everything came out as genuine as possible.
Nice, nice. So like so there was 12 families, right? Was it
Correct.
12? Okay. So were those parenting styles were they predefined? Like did they say, "Hey, I mean, do you label yourself as it or did you guys kind of self-proclaim your parenting styles? Like, "Hey, I consider myself a disciplined parent or I'm a this parent, I'm a that parent." Like how did that work? Like
So they actually assigned our parenting styles based on watching us. So when they kind of were getting to know us, I actually was assigned a different parenting style in the beginning because you go through a lot of stages of interviews, auditions, Zoom meetings and getting to know you. There's a lot of prerequisite things before you are even chosen. So there's a lot of that. And they get to know you, and they gave me a different parenting style label in the beginning. And then midway through, they changed it to disciplined because they're kind of going based on what they feel most fits your family, your parenting. And you kind of, you have the choice to agree or disagree, I believe, but they kind of pick the label for you based on what most closely relates to your parenting style.
Wow. And are you able to tell us what parenting style you were prior?
At first they said I was strict, and they changed it to this because I'm not really that strict of a parent. I do things in a certain order with my kid. First things come first, priorities come first. Work hard now, play hard later. But that play hard, go do what you want to do, as long as you're not doing anything bad. I'm not super strict as far as, what, like the strict parents, they have more rules, no cell phones till 16, things like that. No, they have different things, no television, I don't have those same kind of restrictions. I just have things in order.
Okay. So, and this is me just commenting because, like, just based off of what I seen, whatever, like when they first show all the families, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and they kind of show cut scenes of you real quick. Like I ain't like how they portrayed you. Like I felt like they gave you like the RBF face, you know what I'm saying? Like,
always.
Yeah, I mean, and then when you hear you talk and you see like how it all played out, I'm like, she's nice, like she's a sweet, like she's down to earth, she's a sweetheart. Like
people hated me the first 4 episodes. I got so much people like, I don't like her. I'm like, I ain't even said nothing.
Exactly.
I didn't even had a chance to see. But they were like, we don't like her. She has a bad attitude. But really, I don't have a bad attitude. They just, they cut and edit things the way they do. And honestly, there's certain times where I kind of looking a certain way, but one, I was pregnant, and so I was very tired. I was popping Tums. There's like a couple times you see me reaching down. People don't know I'm like grabbing Tums. I had heartburn. I was tired, and so I'm just fighting through. They're very long days, and then I also wore glasses, so I was just trying to see.
Oh, you're just squinting, like trying to see. Like that's funny. Oh wow.
They think I got an attitude, but no, I was fine.
Okay. I guess going into this question is wild because now I know how they did it, but I was going to ask you, like, how confident were you going on to the show? Like, why choose to put your parenting on display in that manner? But I guess you didn't really know that's what you were doing, right? Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I did know I was still kind of putting my relationship with my daughter, things like that, on display in a way but I thought that it would be a beautiful thing that other single mothers in America can relate to. Other women who have maybe come from a hard, rough background that had to change their life for their kid, a child that's adopted through foster care. There's so many different dynamics through that. My daughter has ADHD. There's so many things that other people could relate to that I thought it would be a beautiful thing to be able to see that and not be like, okay, well, every family looks like this, when families look different all the time. So I thought it was a really cool thing to do. And I do know I'm a good mom. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't bust my ass every day to take care of my kid and make sure and put her first. We moved to California for better opportunities for her. So I do know that, but I just didn't know I was going to be competing for a title of that.
That
I honestly probably wouldn't have initially done because I don't think that I'm necessarily better than any other parent. I just think I'm hard for my kid, but I know a lot of moms that do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's like when I first was seeing like trailers and stuff like that. And when I first started recapping the show, I was like, yo, that's bold, like for these parents to do. Cause I'm thinking like nobody wants, like people hate when their own parents critique them, you know what I mean? Like, or older relatives or friends when they're like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't, especially like when you have little kids and that gets annoying, whatever. But like I thought it was just brave and bold to like be willing to, because
I'm the best parent. Let me sign up and get on the show so I can prove that I'm the best parent in America. No, none of us knew that.
Okay. Because I was like, because I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I would want, because we all make mistakes as parents too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like sometimes the things that we're doing, we don't realize they might not be good things until like somebody has something to say about it, whatever. So yeah, I was just like, wow, like that's crazy. But that's cool though that like y'all didn't even necessarily know. So it was just natural.
Yeah,
Y'all was just really being yourselves the whole time.
for
I mean,
sure. And
wow.
parenting is learning on the job. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. There's no perfect child. There's no perfect human.
Yeah.
So nobody's really usually going to be that bold. But I do see people in the comments that'll say like, "How do I audition for this?" So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's out there.
I know. So yeah, now like, but I wonder if it. Yeah, I mean, can they duplicate that? You know what I mean? Like, can they? I would. It would be hard. Like, I know these companies they want to make money and try to
Yeah.
capitalize, but I'm like, yeah, like now that the cat is out the bag, essentially, like, how do you
Then
duplicate?
they might know. They probably got to go about it a different way. Because our show actually there was another one in another country, and now there's a new one in a whole another country. So
Okay. Okay.
same show. So I mean, like it's kind of international, but I think that they're gonna have to just probably paint it differently, like same way they did with us, and bamboozle people, make them think
Yeah.
they're auditioning for something else. That's the only way I think you can really get things as organically as possible. But I mean, last I knew, they are working on a season 2, so we'll
Okay.
see. Because
Is
we're up for an award, so that's pretty cool.
like an Emmy?
Choice award.
A choice of okay, okay, okay. So and we'll get back into the show, but I guess and you kind of shared this a little bit, whatever, but I guess can you give us a background of your family situation and with your daughter, who is your niece, whatever. Can you kind of, because for people that didn't see the show, can you give us like a little like a overview of your situation or your family, so to speak?
Yeah, for sure. If you haven't seen the show, it's on Hulu. Go
Yes.
watch it. But no, my daughter has been with me, living with me permanently since she was 4. She first came to stay with me at about 6 weeks old, and it was on and off for a bit. Both of her parents, they just struggled with addiction and, mental health, different things like that. And so she came to live with me at 4, and I legally adopted her, and she's been my daughter ever since. I typically correct people who call her my niece because if
Okay.
you take
Okay.
away me from being her mother, she doesn't have one. And I don't think
Mm.
that's fair to her. I'm the
Yeah.
only mom
Yeah.
she has. So that is something that, is a little personal. But
Yeah. Yeah.
overall, she grew up pretty normal in a way. She had a very kind of normal childhood with me, as far as it's been very consistent, very stable. She's always
Okay.
involved in activities. And because she is biologically my brother's child, she still was close to all her siblings, cousins, family. Those kind of things are a benefit. I also grew up with my parents, struggling with drug addiction, and my dad was a pimp, and we moved
Oh
around a
wow.
lot, went through foster care, we went through our house getting raided. So I understand the way that she feels about things, and how you struggle with those abandonment and rejection feelings when you feel like your parents don't choose you and put you first.
Mm.
I'm able to relate to her, to support her through that. And I think that that really helps, because it's easy to have somebody who says, "Oh yeah, I understand." But when someone's been through it, it means more that they understand, because they
Yeah.
understand what you don't say. They
Yes.
understand, like the reactions that you have to things, so I feel like it makes us very close, and we have a really good relationship.
That's good. I'm actually glad I asked you that question, just because I've caught myself a couple of times saying your niece, and I don't ever want to offend you or anything like that,
It's
whatever.
okay.
So
It doesn't offend me because I know biologically she's my niece. I mean,
yes.
I just correct it because sometimes it's hurtful to her.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
that's you're her
they do
mom.
that. They'll say that, like, well, why don't you live with your real mom?
Ah,
And
that's
she'll say she is my real mom, because the real mom is the mom that's taking care of you every day. That's what
yes.
a real mom does.
Yeah, yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. That's good. That's good. So, and you telling that story too. How much did the other people know about? Like, how much background did they know about that? Because obviously, they only probably showed a little bit of it. Because I remember there was a family. It was one of the families on there that, and they assumed like, oh, no wonder, like, yeah, she had an advantage because her, because of the upbringing and whatever. And I was kind of like taken aback by that. I was like, what's that supposed to mean? You know what I mean? Whatever. But like, do they know a lot about all that, or do they only know like the snippet, like a little bit?
The conversations that we have on set are a lot longer than what they, cut on the
Okay.
show.
Okay.
None of us knew each other prior to the show. So until you speak and talk about yourself, they don't know so much. I was rubbed the wrong way by that comment.
Yeah,
and I did address that because I didn't know, we were in the back. That was during the voting. So I didn't know till I saw that on TV that that was said. And so that was something that I addressed. I think that maybe there could have been cutting there, that could have been more that to the conversation. But what I do know is that it doesn't make any sense to say that a child that has, how many of the other kids have had to deal with going through foster care, have had to deal with losing their father, because my brother is dead now, has had to go through, all the stuff that she's had to go through. If anything, she was at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
If anything. So it's like, she didn't do well because of some street smart advantage. She didn't grow up on the street. She grew up with me. And because of that, I thought that was kind of wild. She didn't have any kind of random advantage. She did well because she's been well raised.
Yes. And that's crazy because I remember that. I haven't watched it in months, whatever. But I remember that stood out to me. I was like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, you know how that is. Like, that's like, it's like, whoa. Like, what you trying to say? You know what I'm saying? But people, sometimes ignorance, stuff like that. But
it's all good. They're not people, and they have a son. And I think that sometimes you don't get the whole thing. So I don't really know too much about all of that, but I don't hold it against them. But I do think that it wasn't a good thing to say.
Yeah. And I'm surprised that made the show. Like, it made the cut. You know what I mean? Like when you talk about editing and cutting, like I'm surprised that made the cut. Like y'all didn't think about that. Like, so all right, so let's get
that really hurt my baby's feelings.
Yeah, like it hurt my feelings watching it.
Because her dad was on drugs. She was like, what?
Yeah, like what does that mean? Like, so all right, so let's get back into the show itself. What other parenting styles that were displayed did you kind of gravitate towards or like enjoy watching and seeing kind of play out? Like, were there any parenting styles where you're like, oh, that they are doing a good job? Like, I respect that or whatever.
If I'm being honest, I think that I learned something from every single one of those parenting styles. I think they all have tremendous value. And even if they do things that don't work for me, it works for them and their situation and their families. I would say that the new age, I feel I gravitated towards that a little bit because I'm trying to create new traditions and carve a new path for our family and our life and, change the whole trajectory of our life. So I do feel like you have to adopt new things and, keep the meat and leave the bones of what works for you and your family, and always trying to grow and learn and adopt new things. I related to Dennis because I felt like, he wants his child to be excellent, and who doesn't? I think that is beautiful. I feel like I like the routine parents. There's none of them that I don't feel, where I think sometimes you only get so much on TV that we got so much more behind the scenes and even getting to know them after. Yeah. And I feel that even like the helicopter parents, I mean, when you got 6 kids under 7, what other kind of parent can you be? The helicopter them. But they're so loving and they're so present and their kids come first. And initially, the free range family kind of threw me for a loop. And I was like, oh, this is wild. But even getting to know them, I understand it. And it's kind of like, if they're learning about the Grand Canyon, they go to the Grand Canyon. They see it firsthand. If there's so much beauty and value in that, it's just, I think that everybody is doing their best. And I learned something from every single one of them.
That's good. That's a nice, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's a PC and stuff, but that's good though. Like, I could feel that. Just in watching it, whatever, like there are certain aspects where you're like, I never thought about that. Like I never even thought to do that, whatever. Or wow, like if you want your kid to achieve a certain thing, like maybe you have to adopt like certain styles and things like that, or certain methods. And okay, that's good. So and then were there any parenting styles that just didn't hit for you though at all? Like, you know what I mean? Like that was like, it's not I wouldn't do that probably. I mean,
initially I would say the child-led style I was a little put off by because I'm more of a dominant parent. But I do feel like one thing I learned from them is to kind of give a little bit more choice and a little bit more freedom and a little bit more grace, because their girls are so confident, and so is mine. But she does often rely on my word, so I've been trying to push her to make more choices on her own. So even the ones I think that initially were off-putting to me, I ended up getting a better grasp and understanding of. Like the intensive style, I thought was a little too intensive.
Oh yes, yes,
And,
yes.
you know, but the more you see and the more you get to know their family, you see that it's more like, yes, it's intensive, but for a short period of time in the day. It's maybe
Okay.
2 hours that it's intensive. The rest of the day, she has so much fun and so much freedom. And it just, I think that you just only get to see so much that
Okay.
it's really easy to make quick judgments. But in the beginning, those two, I felt like, oh, no way I could be that kind of parent.
Yeah, yeah.
They're on complete opposite ends of the spectrum, you know. So, but I do see that they both have great things. The intensive parents mentioned 10,000 hours of practice is what you need to be excellent at something.
Yes.
That's stuck in my head. And I've been telling my daughter, how many hours you been practicing that guitar? You know, how many hours you been working on writing them
Right,
songs?
right, right.
You have to, you know, do 10,000 hours. So
There you go. There you go.
yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, there were definitely some styles that were like for me, like yeah, the helicopter, but like even what you're saying to me, like, you know, and even just looking at their situation, yeah, if you have that many kids under a certain age, you gotta kind of hover around them. And I even thought like some of the one challenge was unfair to like the stranger. No, it wasn't even a stranger one. It was like the one where you know the person, like, it was the one that you participated in where you kind of know the person and then they, you know what I mean, they still go with that person even though they didn't have permission. I was like, that's not really fair for like kids that don't have cell phones and like younger kids. Like, but your daughter was on it, like, and I love that. Like, I love that. Like, she was like, and that was your next door neighbor. Like, that was like a lady that she sees every day, probably. You know what I
That's
mean?
probably the closest person to her outside of me and my boyfriend that are adults here.
Yeah,
She, when we go out of town, she stays with her. She walks her dog. They garden together. Like that's, I tell her all the time, Miss Julie is her best friend. So they're
yeah,
very close. I felt that that challenge was the most important because
yes,
kids, they know a lot of times not to go with strangers, but do they know not to go with somebody they know? Because most kids that are harmed by someone they knew. That's
yes,
how they get access to your child. You don't leave your child with anybody you don't trust.
yes, yes.
But just because you think you can trust somebody doesn't mean that you can. I was molested as a child by a cousin, an
Mm,
older cousin. So that's the thing that I felt was most important out of that piece, which a lot of people thought it was unfair. Like, oh, well, if it's my family member, if it's my friend, of course I'm going to go. But no, you shouldn't.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
because you know them, if I didn't give you permission, you shouldn't go. And my daughter, when she was 4 years old, my cousin tried to take her from the dance school. And I had told her that she could, I didn't tell my child, I told my cousin, like, oh, I'll meet you. You can grab her.
yeah, yeah.
Picking up her own daughters, they're in the same dance class. And my daughter was like, absolutely not. I need to call my mom. Can I use your phone? My cousin was like, I need the code word because we have, ever since she's been with me, she's had a code word. And
Okay,
my cousin,
okay.
like, she won't get in the car unless I give her this code word. Same thing when she was 6 years old with my cousin Lisa, she wouldn't leave church with her
Yeah,
without the code word or without calling me first. So I understand they're little and they don't have cell phones, but things like a code word are safeguards you can put into place because either 9 times out of 10, you're going to tell your child if somebody else is picking them up.
yes,
But in an
yes,
emergency or an event that you can't, they have something else that can make them feel secure. Because
yes, yes.
most kids that are abducted by people they knew. Most
Yep.
kids that are molested by people they knew. So
Hmm.
that to me was the most important piece of the challenge to also remind them, I don't care who it is. You don't go with nobody if I didn't tell you to.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
doesn't mean that you can't go with them. It just means ask first.
Yep, just add,
It
yep,
doesn't
yep,
mean you can't trust them. It just means ask first. And if you
yep.
keep that as just the minimum, ask, or just like opening the door, grown-ups are the only ones who answer the door. It doesn't mean, oh, there's a monster at the door that's going to come and get you.
Yes.
You don't have to scare the kids. You just make it a basic rule in your home that only grown-ups answer the door.
Yep, yep. That's good. And that's good advice. And yeah, that it was a powerful thing to see, like a lot of those challenges. Like and I even just watching, like there was definitely challenges I knew like my kid would have failed and I probably would have looked like a crazy parent, whatever. But I guess we can segue into that then. Like what were some of the easiest challenges that you were part of, and what were like some of the toughest or most difficult challenges that you were part of?
I would say that the snake one was the easiest because we actually have a pet snake.
Okay. Okay.
But of course, they didn't know that when they set up the fear challenge. So walking into that, when we finally saw what it was, I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. She's not afraid of pretty much anything. She's just a very bold, outgoing child. That was pretty much the easiest one.
Okay.
And the hardest one, I would say,
I know there's a lot, there's quite a few, but
yeah. And there was some that we did that they didn't show. We did challenges that they didn't show.
Okay.
I think that none of them were super hard for us. If I had to pick which one would be the hardest, it would probably be the maze.
Okay.
Simply because I had to follow and allow her to lead, and there was literally no way out of the maze. And so after you're walking around for so long and it's so hot and you're like,
yeah,
we are not this slow. Like, we would have figured out how to get out of here. We thought this was going to be a cinch. It's not that big. It's an inflatable maze.
Yeah.
I think that was the toughest because my kids started getting frustrated.
Okay.
She started getting like annoyed because she was like, they locked us in here. Like, there's no way that I'm sure we went through this whole thing. And so when she was kind of getting frustrated, I was like, oh man, I don't know if she's sensitive. And so I was like, I don't know if she might start crying.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh man. But I would say that one was a little tough because it was long and hot. And that was she kind of got a little bit irritable. And the other ones, she was pretty fine.
That's good. And I thought it was interesting, but it makes sense too, like how you explained how the show was. But I was like, that's not necessarily fair that like they're not all doing the same challenges. Cause I'm like, are you really getting the accurate representation? But if it's very like, freestyle essentially, like then I could see the mixing whatever of it. Were there any challenges that you didn't participate in on camera, like that other people participated in that you were like, oh yeah, my kid would fail that, like that, or they would like the picky, like my son is a picky eater, like he is not, if he had like a bunch of exotic things like laid out to him, he would be like, oh no, oh, like so I think we would fail that one, whatever. But and there were some other, I think like we would have did well with the high dive one, like because my son is just like into water and swimming and stuff like that, whatever. But were there any challenges that you saw other parents participate in that you were like, I don't know if my daughter would have fared well with that, or something like, oh, that would have been easy, like.
I feel like she would have did great with the fine dining challenge because she is not a picky eater. I am a picky eater. So we would have been sitting there and I wouldn't have eaten any of that. And I feel like that might have been a bad look for my parenting style because I wasn't modeling, for her, because I would have been like, I am not eating that. But she would have tried everything because that's how she is. In general, I would say no. It didn't seem like I saw anything that I thought she would do bad at. I mean, she's a little bit older, so, reading the map or trying to give directions or trying to instruct us on parking, there's certain things like that they didn't really show, but I think she still would have did well simply on certain ones because she is older. I know that the important thing to remember is that even with, let's say, the high dive challenge or the maze challenge is really about how your parenting style works with helping the child through fear. It's not really about if the child actually completes the challenge. If they actually jump off the high dive, it's about watching the parenting style. How do you handle this when your child is afraid to do something?
Yes.
How do you encourage them? What do you do as a parent when your child is facing this? So I think that sometimes people are like, well, it's not fair because the kids are different ages. Sometimes it's because you're focusing on putting the kids against each other in competition, but the kids are not competing against each other. The kids are just doing what kids do. And you're supposed to be watching to see how the parenting style affects what they're doing.
Yes, that's good. That's an important thing to keep in mind if you are watching that show, is these kids don't even know that they're going against each other, and they're not going against each other. It's the parents and their style. So that's good. I guess I wanted to ask one last thing about the show, like, and you talked about how like you had some long days and things like that. Like, how tense was it when it came to discussing and critiquing the other parents? Like, how heated did that get? How uncomfortable did that get at times?
I would say that in the beginning, we were kind of quieter because we didn't know really that we were going to be doing that.
Okay.
And you were a little harsher in the beginning because all you see is this little clip that they show you of a challenge and you're making snap judgments. But the more you get to know people and their kids and their families, you understand it differently. And I think that you give more love and more grace over time. But it was hard to critique other people's parenting, and it's hard to hear critiques about your parenting.
Yes.
People thought that a lot of people, even they felt like because my daughter was older, but there were 5 families that had teenagers, not just, and mine was actually the youngest of all of the teenagers. And so, you know, people kind of missed that. She's kind of tall, so people sometimes think she's older. And when someone said like that I was bullying her when we were because I was roasting her a little bit.
Yeah, that's this culture though too.
I was kind of like, y'all don't roast y'all kids a little, you know? I mean, I'm not calling her stupid or nothing. I'm like teasing, but that's just what we do. You know, I roast my siblings, my cousins. That's how we play. And it is a cultural thing. Because I was like, what is happening? I knew though that Hashim and Jonetta, they got it. So I was like, okay, this is a cultural thing, because my kid was laughing and smiling. And, you know, you do have to hear critiques. And then after the show, you got to hear critiques on Twitter. You know, you have to hear people saying we cheated, or, you know, that I seem like a mean mother. And, you know, you have to do all the stuff on Reddit and all the stuff online. And I'm a person that reads a lot of the comments. Even though yeah. So, I mean, it was tough to critique others because you don't know them and you don't want to mom shame or put people down, and you don't know what type of stuff their kids may be struggling with. Some of our kids are neurodivergent, and you may not know that they have to do it a certain way. You know, so that I feel like honestly that might have been the toughest part of the show, is critiquing others and being critiqued at the same time. Yes.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. And like I said, just an eye-opening experience. I thought it was a cool show.
Me too. I think it's great.
Yeah, it was really dope. And I'm like, dang, like why, you know, they need to have more stuff like that, like just more relatable things. You know what I mean? For, like, you know, just parents and things like that. And it's just something that, like, I think everybody, if you watched it, you could take something away from it. You know what I mean? Even if it's just a little more so, but like just to see how, like, how, dang, maybe I do need to expose my kid to more foods, or, you know, maybe I do need
to teach them not to go with people without my permission.
Like stuff that you don't even realize. And I'm like, they really, when you look at the challenges as a whole, they really did cover like all bases, I feel like. And I thought it was pretty cool. But so enough of the show. And before we wrap it up, so after the show, after you win, do you win money? I don't know. Was there a prize?
I did not win anything.
Oh no!
I wish I did. So I was like, they could have bought some school supplies, some school clothes, a vacation, something. But no, we didn't win anything because they didn't want it to be, you know, like I'm paying you for being a great parent. You know, so we didn't get any type of prize, but that would have been nice.
Yeah. Well, and I see the thing is too, I think there was a misconception in my mind because the way they say like, oh, we're gonna vote for America's best parents. So I thought like because I watched on Hulu, so I see it the day after. So I'm thinking that they had like a audience poll or something like that, and people were getting eliminated, but it was just y'all 12 families, or like basically like 9 at a time, like voting you out or in or whatever. So yeah, so I thought that was like a little bit of a misconception. But after the show, right? I mean, I made the clip about you, and then I start, you know, I'm following you, and like it seemed like you had a plethora of opportunities. So like, what have you been up to, girl? Like since you left the show, like it seems like a lot of things. Like you've been a part of a lot of stuff.
God is good, and I will say that a million times over. I immediately after the show, I had a miscarriage. So that was kind of hard because it was showing me, you know, revealing my pregnancy to my daughter on the show. And then I have to like, everybody comes for the congratulations and I have to, you know, rehash that a million times. So when I had my miscarriage,
I didn't want to ask you about that either. So I'm glad.
Okay. Yeah. You know, and I've been open about it because so many women deal with it alone, you know, and we need support, and we need to know that it is a normal, common thing, and it sucks, but they're not alone. And so that's why I was like, okay, we'll just leave it in there and I'll just address it. But that was very hard for me. So, you know, I had a miscarriage, and then in addition to that, I missed 6 days of work because of that. And I had to have a procedure, and I had to have an emergency blood transfusion.
Oh, no.
I missed 6 days of work, and my job let me go. So it kind of sucked
What?
because yeah, they let me go
You
after,
had FMLA or nothing like that? Like,
no, they just fired me. And they said they were eliminating my position to not say that that's what it was, but it was really just that. And I mean, honestly, 6 days for a miscarriage is not a lot, but
no.
it put me in kind of a down space because I didn't win anything from the show. Then I lost my baby and I lost my job. So that kind of sucked initially, but I really feel like even when we think that bad things are happening, that God has a plan and that, things work together for those who are good and do the right things. So I was after that, I was able to do Doc Brown, who was the host on the show. I did his
Yes.
Speakers Academy. And so I did some speaking engagements. I did Essence Wellness House. And
Yes.
that was amazing being a part of that panel. And next year I want to do Essence Fest. And I started writing a book when I lost my job. And it is almost done. It's in the final stages. It's called Disciplining with Love. And it's about my parenting style. And each chapter starts with a story from my own childhood.
Okay.
That because who you were, the way you were parented, the way you grew up, it really does shape the way you parent. If you're being the same as your mom and dad or complete opposite, it still shapes it in a way.
Yes.
That book is almost done. And in addition to doing Wellness House, I did a parent workshop at a nonprofit after school program that helps at-risk youth.
Okay.
And I did a speaking engagement at a juvenile center and talked to some kids there. And now I'm actually a contributing writer for a magazine that's geared towards Black women under the parenting section. So those things have fallen into place really cool. And I started a new job now, which the job doesn't actually have anything to do with the show. It's more based on my, work experience, education, things like that. But I make more money, I have better hours. So everything is kind of falling into place and working out the way it's meant to. And I mean, all I can do is say God is good and I'm just doing the best I can. And my baby's doing good. And she's putting out music and she's writing a lot and she's trying to perform as much as she can. She starts high school in the fall. So
nice.
I'm just trying to get prepared for that.
Yes. Nice. Wow. Like, yo, this was dope. I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad it was worth the wait. I'm glad we were able to have this conversation and
You too, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm happy for all the things that have happened to you after the fact, after all the bad things that happened. I'm glad that you bounced back and you're you're in a good place right now. So I guess before we go, do you have where can people find you on social media? Do you have anything to plug? Anything? Go ahead.
So my book is coming out soon and so be on the lookout for that. That's one thing that I do want to say because it's a really good book and it's full of good tips and skills and just real life, I feel like relatable things that people can incorporate, especially with my daughter having ADHD. I have a lot of tips in there about helping them be more organized and flourish within that instead of it being such a setback. So I would say that is coming out. You can find me on Instagram at Yay It's Dre, which is YAAYYY. It's Dre, DRE. That's on Instagram. Facebook and Twitter is just Andrea McCoy. Pretty simple. It's Queen Dreyonce on TikTok.
Hey.
It kind of varies, but that's the main thing I'm working on. I plan on doing a lot of more books and speaking engagements and things like that. So it's full steam ahead. I'm not stopping. It's only up for here.
It's only up from here. Are you going to a Beyonce concert this year? Are you going Renaissance tour?
We are going to the one in Toronto, and I'm so excited. Yes.
Yeah, my son's mother, she's like the biggest Beyonce fan, and I know she's going and she's
saw
turned
Destiny's Child in 9th grade. So I'm like excited to see, the culmination of who Beyonce has become in person. So yeah, a group of us are going with my boyfriend and some friends, and we're gonna go for a few days, and I cannot wait.
Wow, what made you pick the Toronto show? Because you're in the West Coast. Like, what made you say we're gonna fly all the way to Canada? What?
So there is the LA show also, but what it is they just wanted to make a trip out of it.
Okay.
And because some people live in like Detroit, Philly, people are kind of spread out. So then we're all going to be central in one location and make it a whole, 4-day, 5-day trip. So I think that's why.
That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. So, because we are pressed for time,
Yes.
and I gotta let you go. I'm so happy to have you as a guest, and hopefully, man, share the content. If y'all been watching, go on Hulu right now. Watch the Parent Test. Catch up with the winner. You know what I mean? I know this is a spoiler. She wins the show. She wins the show, but
it's invaluable. Still worth watching.
Still worth watching. Still worth watching. And like I said, if you're still watching the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave us a comment. And this is another episode of the 280 Plus podcast, y'all. We out.
Thank you.
Thank you.